Hi, hello and welcome to another video. My name is Fernando and this is my channel, Fermove. Today, I am coming at you from Rinci, the capital of the province of Xinjiang in China's northwest. You may wonder, well, why I have come here, and the answer is pretty simple. I am hoping to provide enough information that may help prevent a war. I believe that this is a path that we are headed towards, and it is all based on deliberate misinformation. Some people out there will claim that I'm a CPC paid shield or even a non-paid shield. So let me say it loud and clear here on camera, a sworn declaration or a sworn statement on the risk of perjury. I have not been compensated in any way, shape or form by anyone to come to Xinjiang and make this video series, to say what I think, I believe is the truth about Xinjiang. The one compensation that I will receive basically comes from AdSense, any money that I will make from the views on this video, which I suspect won't be too much since YouTube limits who advertises on these so-called sensitive videos. The other source of income will be the support that you, the viewers, send to me at the time of watching this video. You can do that by using the link in the description down below or by using the QR code you see on the screen. Now, in addition, I would like to say that I have paid for all my transportation, my accommodation, my meals, and the medical tests to come out here out of my own pocket. So that's it. That's the end of my sworn testament. Let's begin then. Widespread Xinjiang allegations of genocide, forced labor, and religious suppression of Muslims in Xinjiang originated in February 2018 after a Chinese diplomat denied reports about camps and a man, Adrian Sense, a 44-year-old German anthropologist and born-again Christian, decided to start looking into Chinese government's documents at the request of the BBC in order to write a report. Now, interestingly enough, he initially declined to research this project, claiming there was lack of evidence. His own words in a tweet, not mine. But let's continue. Now, Mr. Sense found publicly available bidding papers, budget plans, and other documents related to construction of projects here in Xinjiang. With help from the Australian think tank ASPI, or the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, which is funded in part by the US State Department, the US Defense Department, as well as several companies from the military-industrial complex, such as Lockheed Martin, Northrop, and Raytheon. Mr. Sense concluded that China was building internment camps capable of holding about 1 million Uyghur prisoners. Journalist Max Blumenthal famously asked chairman of the executive committee of the World Uyghur Congress where this number, 1 million Uyghur, came from. His answer might surprise you. He said, media.
Chairman of the World Uyghur Congress, a group funded almost entirely by the NED.
The Chinese authorities, Chinese government put more than 1 million Uyghurs in so-called re-education camp. It is very similar to concentration camps.
And your group, which is sponsored by the NED, is the one that's documented this and supplied the information to the U.S.?
Yes, some of the information, of course, not all of it, yeah.
How do you know it's 1 million, the number? That's a very staggering number.
Yeah, staggering number. This number was given to, by some or even some Western media estimates.
However, in a report published in May 2018 by the Washington-based Jamestown Foundation, Sense estimated that these so-called camps effectively held anywhere from 100,000 to slightly more than 1 million people. Now, by March 2019, at a UN panel in Geneva, Sense mentioned that his estimate had risen to 1.5 million. At the same speech, he also mentioned that his number was speculative, based on accounts from Uyghur exiles with relatives in detention. So, not really listening to the other side. Since Adrian Sense's accusations, Western media and politicians have escalated their smearing attacks on China leading to the, well, heightened tensions that we are experiencing in 2021. They can be categorized into three general aspects: genocide, forced labor, and religious oppression. Let's talk about those claims of genocide first. Article 2 of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide defines it as, well, any of the following acts committed with the intent, this is very important, intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, religious group. So it would include killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, as well as imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. And last, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Because this is a matter of international law, let's address the different groups defined in Article 2. It says that a country must intend to destroy first a national group. Is that the case in China? Obviously not. Even Western mainstream media tells us that the Han and other minorities are having a good life here. The only problem is with the Uyghurs. Second, an ethnical group. The main group concerning Western media and politicians are the Uyghurs. As you can see in this video, there are hundreds, if not thousands of people every day living their lives in better conditions than they had before, for decades. The third one is a racial group. Uyghur minority is not exactly a race by definition, they are a minority. So technically, this doesn't really apply. And the last one is a religious group. In the context of the Uyghur minority, a large number of them are Muslims. It is fair to assume that Western media and politicians refer to China's intent to destroy, in part or in whole, Muslim religion in Xinjiang when they accuse the country of genocide. But as you will see in this video, this is not so. However, there is a group that is not mentioned in Article 2, extremist terrorists and their indoctrinated network of supporters and abettors. Is it genocide when extremist terrorists, their supporters and abettors die or suffer bodily harm during confrontations with authorities? Is it genocide when authorities provide conditions of life calculated to bring about the rehabilitation and the betterment of an indoctrinated population or a population at risk of indoctrination? The answer is clearly no. Now, what seems to upset Western media and politicians, both Republicans and Democrats, and in the US or within the Five Eyes countries, is that this novel approach to dealing with the threat of terrorism does not bring about large-scale, expensive military operations from which the military-industrial complex and set politicians can profit and earn money. It is public knowledge that many of these elected politicians constantly receive financial contributions from PACs and super PACs directly connected to the military-industrial complex. And I know what you're going to say. You naysayers will say, oh, no, those photos are from 2016. I know, but do you think much has changed in the last 5 years? Do you think anything at all has changed? Good, let's move on. And in addition, another thorn on the side for Western media and politicians is that, well, this locking up of terrorists in maximum security prisons and the rehabilitation of population at risk of indoctrination in vocational training centers appears to be successful. So far, there hasn't been a single terrorist attack since 2017. That's 4 years and counting. Now contrast that to the angst of living in danger and insecurity from years prior, people living in fear of an imminent yet unforeseeable terrorist attack anywhere, at any time, in any form. Even Trump congratulated China on the handling of the situation, so go figure. Now, a small parenthesis on that last photo from the AP report. Note that this peculiar yet deliberate use of language, Bolton, a notorious warmonger, quotes the American interpreter who chose the word camps instead of vocational training centers or maximum security prisons. These are terms used by China, both of which are necessary to fight terrorism because, camps, concentration camps, that does have a strong negative ring to it, doesn't it? The term camps serves the purpose of creating a specific sentiment towards China. And well, mindless, brainwashed consumers of Western media, together with out-of-the-closet racists, will affirmatively and wholeheartedly rally behind a war against an enemy that operates camp-right. And people still wonder why attacks on Asian population in the West are on the rise. The truth is, war is America's way of hegemony. Let me prove it to you. Here is a list of the armed conflicts that the USA has been part of in this young 21st century. Nepal, Afghanistan, Maghreb, Iraq, the first round, Northwest Pakistan, Somalia, Kenya, Libya, Uganda, Iraq, again, Syria, Yemen, Libya, again, and the Persian Gulf crisis. China has only been present in 2 of this long list of conflicts. The Operation Enduring Freedom, which is an ongoing operation in the Horn of Africa, which started in 2002, where the Allied forces are fighting ISIL, Al-Qaeda, and the Mujahideen, and also Operation Ocean Shield in the Indian Ocean, fighting Somali pirates. That ended in 2016 quite successfully. The fact is that war drives an ever-growing chunk of America's economy. Its politicians and its media feed from it. The US spends on defense more than the next 10 countries combined. I reckon there is an element of jealousy or inadequacy in Western politicians, seeing how China has accomplished its poverty alleviation campaign, lifting 800 million people out of absolute poverty in record time, or seeing how it has modernized its infrastructure, leaving the West so far behind, it's almost comical. If you look at this video on the construction of high-speed railways, it's a sped up, I know, but you can see that in the last 13 years, China's high-speed railway network took off and just left the US literally in the dirt. So if you're an American and you're living paycheck to paycheck with less than $400 in savings, or heck, maybe just waiting for another stimulus check, it is time for you to start asking, where is your tax money going to? Perhaps if the US invested less in defense and more in its people, the US wouldn't need these wars. Besides, if the US were good at winning wars and fighting them, it would have ended them a long time ago, wouldn't they? But let's get back to another reason Western politicians must feel embarrassed when they see China at work. Within the last 5 months, China has signed extremely important cooperation and trade agreements all over the world, such as the RCEP, the largest trade agreement in the world, of which the US is not a part of, or the EU's comprehensive investment agreement that gives easy access to European companies to the 1.4 billion Chinese market. And just a few days ago, they signed a 25-year deal with Iran, not only to guarantee oil supply for China, but incidentally is going to cement a stronger foundation for the RMB transactions throughout the world, maybe even digitally. And last but not least, the most recent bilateral agreement to support Saudi Arabia's vision of 2030 projects. Just think about that. Take a second to assimilate all this influence, all this leadership around the world, and the icing on the cake of all this has been done without firing a single bullet. It must be truly embarrassing for US politicians to see how 1/6 of the federal spending goes to a military strategy that has produced such few and poor results. And the situation isn't likely to improve anytime soon. Just in the last 10 years, from 2010 to 2020, the US has spent a staggering $5 trillion on just interest payments on its debt. By 2023, the US will be spending more money on debt interest than on its military. But let's circle back, as as mentioned before, to Article 2 of the Genocide Convention. It contains a very narrow definition of the crime of genocide, which includes a mental element, the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group as such. And by the looks of it, it's the West, the one who seems intent on starting a conflict which will destroy China, in whole or in part. Now, even though this video series from my very tiny YouTube channel is up against a humongous alternative fact and lying machinery directly financed by the military-industrial complex, I will attempt to disprove the claims of genocide by Western media and politicians, whereby China is intent on destroying, in part or in whole, the Uyghur ethnic group or Muslim groups. However, I will not be able to showcase, the government trying to impose measures intended to prevent births within the Uyghur population, or forcibly transferring children to another group. Since I'm not a journalist, nor am I connected to government, this aspect of disproving genocide is easier done via government-issued reports and other documents. It will be impossible for me to actually shoot that and have any visual references for you guys. Now, with regards to forced labor and religious oppression, I will show you the freedom and the lack of confinement of workers in this region, particularly of cotton farmers, even though this time of year, workers are just plowing through the fields, seeing harvest actually takes place in August. I will also station myself outside a few factories, some vocational training centers, as well as several mosques, in order to dispel the rumors of forced labor, cultural genocide, and religious oppression. However, I suspect that I will not be allowed to show you inside these places, since I'm just a YouTuber, right? Alright guys, that's all the time we have today. Thank you very much for watching this introduction to this video of the Xinjiang mini-series. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, remember, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you like the content of my channel, then consider subscribing to it, and if you do that, don't forget to hit the bell button to be notified whenever there is a new video out. And if you would like to support the work that I do, you can use the PayPal link in the description down below, or you can use the QR code that you can see here on the screen if you are here in China and you use WeChat. Thanks so much, and until I see you again, take it easy and bye for now.